Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When the Magi had departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Rise, take the child and his mother, flee to Egypt, and stay there until I tell you. Herod is going to search for the child to destroy him." Joseph rose and took the child and his mother by night and departed for Egypt. He stayed there until the death of Herod, that what the Lord had said through the prophet might be fulfilled. "Out of Egypt I called my son." When Herod realized that he had been deceived by the Magi, he became furious. He ordered the massacre of all the boys in Bethlehem and in its vicinity, 2 years old and under, in accordance with the time he had ascertained from the Magi. Then was fulfilled what had been said through Jeremiah the prophet. A voice was heard in Ramah, sobbing and loud lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children, and she would not be consoled since they were no more. The Gospel of the Lord. A person who orders such a massacre as the Holy Innocent is obviously not well. And that is substantiated in other accounts about Herod. If you were one of his children in his rages of paranoia, you could easily be killed because of the paranoia he felt and threats to his kingdom, to the point where there was a joke among the Romans that because Herod, although he had little contempt for any life that threatened him, he rigorously stuck to the dietary laws of the Jewish people, and which meant he absolutely abstained from pork. And so the joke among the Romans was, it's better to be a pig in Herod's kingdom than one of his sons. It reminds me, however, of, especially through the holidays, there were many commercials on TV about the SPCA and how we treasure animals that have been threatened, and that in and itself is not a bad thing. And yet we prize all these animals, and the holy innocence of abortion carries on. And that's a tragedy. In a sense, Herod used the blood of the little children to cover his paranoia and his skewed contempt for life. And at the same time, in a sense, we do the same thing in our culture with abortion. We use the blood of children to cover up for the fact that we use life and sexuality for pleasure and gain instead of cherishing life in all abundance, even to the point where animals are more cherished than God's dear children. In the first letter to John, it says that when we love one another, we let the blood of Christ cleanse us, not the blood of a brother or sister or family member. We let the blood of Christ cleanse us and set us free. We acknowledge our sins and we let the blood of Christ cleanse us. How tragic that we live in a society that claims to be so humane and yet has such contempt for the most delicate of life, especially in the womb. In a sense, even a failure to act on this shows a culture that is as duplicitous and inconsistent as someone like Herod. Clearly, we need to do some repenting around here. And it begins with us in our own care and cherishing the sanctity of life right around us. God calls us to love one another, as St. John tells us. And we love one another, and we allow the precious blood of Christ to cleanse us so that we might cherish and hold all life as dear in the same way as he holds life as dear and desires that we all would have life and have it in abundance.
Regina Celi, letare